I'm Virendra Pawar. I'm going to talk about the topic of what is called as referrals. This is typically important is how you particularly get a job, how you look at jobs. One thing, let me reiterate before at the onset that getting a job through the campus is one of the best possible method of getting a job in this case. For the simple reason, when you get a job through the campus, you'll find that you are considered, the company's baby as such. I mean, you will see a number of places that a lot of people who become CEOs of companies, and when you look at their background, you'll find that they have got the job in that particular company through the campus placements. So it is very important that you get a job in a company in campus placements just because it is quite difficult once you go out. Now I'm going to talk about some points that, let's say, how to get a job or how to get a job in a particular company. First part I'm going to talk is what is known as the referral system. Now, what is a referral system? And let me give you a small analogy about it. Consider that, let's say you want to read a book, and let's say you want to read a book which is a spy thriller, or you want to read a book which is a romantic comedy, or some book you want to read. So, what do you do in that case? Most of the times, you people, you will always know that you have a friend who reads spy thrillers, so you'll ask him, "Arey, which is a good book to read now? I want to read a book," and he'll give you a reference that to read the book. And once you get that reference, you're going to read that book without much hesitation about the quality of the book and all, because you know that once he refers that book has to be good. Similarly, if a friend of yours refers a romantic comedy or some book, you're going to read it. So this is what is called as a referral system. So to get a good in the job also it works. To get a good referral system, you should know your seniors. You should be proactively work with them in projects. You should be associated with some user groups where your seniors, like-minded seniors in your domain, know how good you are in that particular subject. So later on, when it comes at the job and they're working in some company, and the company asks them that, okay, Mr. Abhishek, do you know anyone who is good in Linux and Java? And he says, yes, I know, and we can take this boy. Once you get a referral of that type, most of your work is done of getting into the particular company. After that, because the company knows that the person has vouched for you, it will be a small matter of HR just to understand some HR issues that they will talk to you, but you will get the job, and this is called as a referral. It's like the book, basically. You want to read that book, and there's not much doubt about it. Second part, I'll give an analogy. Let's say a person you want to read a book. What do you want to do? You want to phone up a library, or you go to the librarian who knows the books in the library, and you tell him, I want some good spy books. And he'll take out 25, 30 spy books or the romantic comedies, as I said earlier, and then give it to you. What will you do in that case then? Since you know that the librarian also is quite knowledgeable about the contents of the books, but now you're going to read the books, you're going to scan the books basically. So when you scan the books, you will get all the contents that are in the book. And this is typically what happens when you go to in the job market. This happens when the companies want to, they don't get anyone through referral, then they talk to an agency, placement agencies. And then the placement agencies will have in the records, they'll have your data, they'll know your background, they'll know your marks, they know where your location, a lot of information about you is there with them. And they will then talk about, tell the company, okay, we have got these 20, 30 people, and they forward the applications to them. The company then will shortlist from that application set. So that comes to another way of doing is through the placement agency. Once the company has not got anyone through the placement agency, the third part is they will put an advertisement in the paper. So when you see an advertisement in the paper, you understand that they are talking to a wide number of people and they want to get a number of applications. And when you get a number of applications, when you get it's like going to the bookshop and trying to search for books. And do you read the whole book at that point? No. You just turn the book around, you see the last page, and you read something about the author just in a few lines. And then you make up your choice whether you want to read the book or not. So this is the type of systems that work in placements in the future. So what you can do at this stage now is to get and connect with a number of seniors in the like-minded domains. We have, let's say, we have Plug, which is the Pune Linux users group, or we have some other groups, or you have, join up with seniors in hackathons and work with them together. So this will give you a very strong footing when you search for in the job market at a later stage. Right? So, I mean, this is about the referral system. Second part, I want to I talked about the first one where you come through, get a job through the reference. Second part, when the job is offered through an agency. And third is when the job is through an open advertisement in the newspapers. Now coming to the next topic, which is quite important, is a resume. A typical question that I would like to ask you, what should be the length of your resume once you pass out of college? Think of it. I'll give you a moment to think. What should be the length of your resume? What should you put in a resume? Right. So those are some very important points, and I want to discuss some points with you about a resume, and let's walk through those points right now. The first part of your resume should be a career objective. Right. So what is a career objective? This is where you will. I would like to advise you at this point. Your resume should be tuned almost for every company. Don't expect to send the same resume to every company. In the career objective, what you want to do is first look at the vision and mission statement of the company. This is available on their websites. So once you look at the vision mission statements of the company, pick up the words which are most familiar to you in the vision mission statements and put them in your career objectives. Like a typical words like grow with the company or environment consciousness. And there are some words you'll find in vision mission statement in which you should put those words in career objective, because then the company, the person reading it, it somehow clicks in his mind that this person is, this girl or this boy is more related to our company's future. And that's very important. So your career objective, that's very important. The first line in your resume, first few lines, career objectives should not be more than 4 to 5 lines. I'll talk about that at a later point. So you have your career objective. It's not more than 4 to 5 lines. Which should you outline? Please make sure that you read the vision mission statement of the company and then form your career objective. And it should be tuned every time you write to a company. Next part is a skill matrix. Skill matrix will show the company as to what are your strengths basically, and what you can do. I'm going to show you some example of skill matrix. Let's say I'll try and get the example up right now, and just a minute. This is of some person who has already worked for 30, 40 years in that. So here you see the first is the objective to contribute to the enterprise creation, growth, success, and employer as a part of senior management team. Some of these words, as you see, are enterprise creation, growth, success. This should try and pick up these statements from the vision mission statement of the company. Next part he has talked about is the area of expertise. So this comes along with the objective. You can list out your areas of expertise. Try and not. This is slightly long. I mean, I'll tell you why it happens. Third part is your skill matrix. I will share these slides with you also at a later point through your class teacher, where you can go in each category, you can show what skills you have. Right now, you may not have a lot of these skills, but you can start practicing to write these particular skill management. For example, let's say resource planning, scheduling, these type of typically you have taken part in organizing some competitions in the college and all. Those can form your inputs to this project management. So what you notice here that I'm showing you is that your first page, I have got these topics, which is objective, areas of expertise, and skill matrix. And this is very important that you keep on rewriting and checking it every couple of days and making it more dynamic and changing. So this is very important. Later on comes your professional experience. This you are going to start writing about different companies that you may have worked, or if you're a fresher, of course, it doesn't apply to you. After this particular part, this is the part which is red. So let me come back. If you are applying to a company for a job, what exactly happens in that particular company? Once, let's say, if a company gets has applied for a job in a particular domain, like as I said earlier, Linux background with expertise in Python and Java or OpenCV, and they get, let's say, 1,000 applications from various people for the job. What happens? What does the HR team do? HR team then first will then look at what jobs, what are the jobs. They'll just check your whether you fit within the requirements of the company in the form of whether you have a first class, you have your local person, where those points I'm going to come to. And then they give these, let's say they're going to give 50-50 resumes to the technical people who are already there in the company. Please understand one point, that that person, the technical team, your resumes go to the bunch of resumes. He's already having his own work to be done. And on top of it, he is going to then read your resume. How much time do you think he's going to give your resume? So that is where I come to the first page that I'd shown you, where your objective and your skill matrix and areas of expertise should be so defined that when he looks at that first page, when he looks at those 10 lines, he's impressed and wants to read more. Because if you do not impress him in those first few lines, he is not going to read the rest of your resume. You people, you have always got an email from somewhere. And if the first few lines are not interesting, do you read the rest of the email? Do you scroll down and see what's more in it? No. If you have to attract the person to read your resume. And that is, he's going to read that thing. He'll say, okay, yes, this person looks good. He looks promising. He's just going to make a remark on the top of your resume. He may not read the rest of your resume. So that brings up to the important points that I want to talk about here is, so your resume should have, what should you put in your resume? So one important, as I said, the career objectives, skill matrix are the most important points that you have in your resume. Second part, do you want to put in your resume that you're married, not married, staying at some place, staying, giving the address, your passport number and all that? Is it required on the day one when you apply the first time? No. So what do you need to require to give information about yourself? A simple information. I'm going to now go to another screen now. Here. This is what I want to show you. Is it visible? Just someone can respond on that. Right. So here you have a simple start of it where it is you put your name, you put your email ID, or maybe you can put your, and then you start your career objectives, skill matrix, maybe experience. Now this is important at the start. You do not need to put your personal information at this stage. Once they recruit you, they decide to recruit you, they'll ask for further information. Somewhere in the middle here, I've just shown some part, skill matrix, experience, memberships. Memberships are very important in the company for one reason is that a lot of government organizations want to see if you're members of some, like you could say, IST, right? IST is a Indian Standards of Technical Education. It's a which defines what the education standards are going to be. And if you're a member, you can become a life member of that particular society. So if you're members of particular society, it gives them the idea that you are current with what's happening in the particular topic. That they will present a number of papers. Another part of memberships become important if you're going for government jobs, and they look at these particular issues. And third is if you're joining a company which let's say floats tenders and want to put your name on it, the government tenders, then in that case, if they put your name and then show that you're a member of a particular society, then they know that these people have qualified people under them. Next part you can put here in the resume is your trainings, that is some extra courses over and above the education that you've taken, if you've done any trainings in that. Then maybe you can put the marks if you want to, of course, in the latest marks first order. Third is achievement. I'm going to spend 2-3 minutes on these achievement. And one part you have to talk about achievements, whether you've run any awards, you've got some prizes in hackathons and all that. Another point also now, the last point will be, is where you talk about your personal expertise. For example, the sports you play. The sports you play will indicate whether you're a team player or a single player, whether you're what you do, whether you are, where's your location, whether you're in a local base, let's say if you're based in a particular city like Mumbai and the companies in Mumbai, you've got the best chance of getting hired because now with the current situation, cost of relocating persons is very high. So that is very important. The number of languages you know, because if you put a simple, the number of languages, Hindi, Marathi and English, what comes up in the HR will be, you know, multiple languages. So irrespective of that, it gives you a good option when they say, okay, this person has knows multiple languages. So, it increases your weight. Right. So this is what I want to talk about, a small about resume. Make sure it is not very long. Make sure you have the first page is has to be impressive. Right. So basically, keep writing. I'll talk about this particular points at a later stage when we can come to me one by one, or we can have another session if you're interested, and how to create this particular first page. That is very important. Right. So that's it from my side. Thank you. I'll be ready to take questions from you if you have any. And